It's the final percent. The final percent.
All right, this is the Final Percent podcast, and I have another. It's really turned into a good friend of mine, but he was just a chiropractor, just one of those witch doctors, if you will.
Quacks.
And and we were talking about we're going to jump into kind of what is chiropractic. So that you guys can better understand it, because it's done a world of help for me, but we're going to kind of help you understand the why, because there's a lot of things that I do, and whether I'm doing personal development coaching or I'm doing speeches on stage, the story behind something is so important, and the why behind something is so important. And I thought it was so interesting when I met you for the first time and you were telling me what chiropractic meant for you and why you got into it. And I thought it was such an interesting story that kind of transformed your life forever because of that. So maybe just introduce yourself, let them know where your practice is, and then tell them why do you even do this witch doctor voodoo stuff?
Here we go. It already starts. Jeez, man. They don't even know who I am, and you're already pulling out these strings. Jeez. All right, so my name is Mike Lynch. I'm a chiropractor located right here in beautiful Boulder, Colorado. My practice is Adio Health Chiropractic. We've been in practice for 5 years.
What does Adio stand for?
Adio stands for above, down, inside, out. So
Yeah.
it's how we'll get into that, but it's how the human body heals. So your brain, your nervous system control everything in your body. So that's what we focus on is restoring optimal health through a properly functioning nervous system.
So why chiropractic? Why did it just make such a profound impact on not only your business but your life? What's the story behind it?
Yep. So the story of why I became a chiropractor, I was in medical device sales. So I worked for one of the largest medical device companies in the world. It was a really cool job. It really, really was. I had a lot of fun doing it. The guys that I worked with were awesome. We were helping people in the ER every single day. But at the time, my 3-year-old son was going to the bathroom once every 3 to 5 days. He actually had an adverse reaction to a drug when he was 12 to 15 months old. And from that point on, he had projectile vomiting. He had head banging. He had a lot of gut issues. He was always a sick kid. There was one time where he had swine flu and pneumonia at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, a lot of behavioral stuff, which is that's why we see a lot of kids now, because I lived through that. But I was going to the chiropractor initially for sleep issues. So I had a really straight neck, and having a really straight neck or loss of curve in the neck will put your body into a state of stress. So I was just having trouble sleeping. I was in the military, and so they call it military neck, just from having your head forward all the time. So I went to the chiropractor for that. I was getting adjusted multiple times a week for months at a time because it was restoring life into my body. But I was also seeing the miracles that would occur. I mean, people coming off drugs and medications, people getting rid of canes and walkers and those types of things, and kids thriving. I mean, kids being kids without being reliant on drugs. And I talked my wife into coming to what was called the doctor's report. So my chiropractor, Dr. James Judge, he came from a family of over 30 chiropractors.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it started back in the 20s. And so Alana, my wife, came and she literally bawled through the whole thing because she found an answer for her little boy. I mean, there was times where she was having to give him enemas, suppositories to help him go to the bathroom. And then when he did go to the bathroom, it was obviously rock hard. It was super painful. So we brought Cohen in to the chiropractor, took an x-ray of his spine. And when you look at the spine from the front to the back, it should be perfectly straight. Well, he had a big curve in his lumbar spine, so in his low back. And when you understand the neurology of the nerves that exit the spine in that particular area, they go right to the stomach. They go to every single major organ in the stomach.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
So if the brain can't communicate with those organs, those systems properly, do you think you're going to be building health, or do you think you're going to be building sickness? Sickness.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Okay. So from the first adjustment, it was actually an adjustment to the top bone in the neck, C1. He started going to the bathroom regularly. There's a major nerve root that exits the top of the neck called the vagus nerve. Essentially, it's the major brake pedal in the body, and I'm sure we'll probably get into this because we deal a lot with vagus nerve dysfunction in my practice. But that vagus nerve essentially goes to every single major organ in the stomach, and it's involved in peristalsis, so it's involved in proper gut motility and proper gut function. And when there's that vagus nerve dysfunction, there's a miscommunication from the brain to the body, and then also the body back to the brain. Okay, they're just not talking to each other properly. Yeah. So then you end up with dysfunction. Well, most of your immune system comes from your gut. So if your gut's not healthy, you're not going to be healthy, which explains why he was sick all of the time.
Wow.
And so that's chiropractic, in addition to proper nutrition, good foods, really changed his life. And that's kind of what opened up my eyes to, holy smokes, there's something to this chiropractic thing. Because I was a kinesiology major in undergrad.
Okay.
I mean, preventative exercise science. But I just really never connected the dots with chiropractic. I had seen a chiropractor before, but not continuously. I didn't really have any issues at the time. And so we started asking our chiropractic questions, and he took us to a seminar down in Florida. And when we got back, I quit my job. My wife quit going to school, and we moved to Davenport, Iowa, which is where Palmer, Colorado Chiropractic is, which is where chiropractic was founded back in 1895. Wow. And here we are in Boulder, Colorado. Yep.
Well, so obviously, if you guys don't know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for this guy, so I'm just razzing him a little bit when I say the witch doctor and the voodoo stuff. But the reason why I kind of opened the show like that is that's what a lot of people associate chiropractic type stuff. And one of the things when I was talking to my wife, because one of the things that happened with me, a lot of you guys know that my bike's handlebars came off at one point and had a really bad concussion. It was really, really scary. And I was telling you, look, there's no way I'm coming in and you're going to touch me and crack me and stuff. And you're like, this is one of the times where you really should. And you explained to me that story from very sports medicine with concussions in the NFL. And you said there's a lot of times where you're going to feel it more than if you were healthy. And I was like, this guy is so full of beans. And I remember you finally talked me into coming in, and I remember specifically you adjusted something in my neck, and it literally felt like something was draining out.
Yep.
It was unbelievable. Yep. I didn't even know that was, and it just shows you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
And chiropractic, I mean, I know it has a lot of roots in Eastern medicine as well. And it's, since we have a very young culture, maybe there are some things we don't know. Maybe there are some things in 4,000, 10,000 years they did figure out that can be preventative instead of curative.
I mean, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, look well to the spine for the cause of disease. Yeah. There's no secret in this. I mean, people have been manipulating spines for centuries. Yeah. Right? Chiropractic was actually founded because it restored a deaf man's hearing back on September 18th, 1895. You know that?
No, that's
how it was founded. Yeah, it was. I'll tell the story real quick. So D.D. Palmer was the founder of the founder of chiropractic. He was a magnetic healer and fisherman from Canada, and so he communicated with a janitor, Harvey Lillard, who was deaf. And Harvey communicated with Dee that he bent over one day and he felt a pop in his back, and when he stood up, he could no longer hear. So through deductive reasoning, Dee said, okay, this happened, so this must have caused this. And so what the story was, and there's a couple different stories out there, but the story was he put 3 thrusts into Harvey's spine where he felt a displaced vertebra, and then it was said that Harvey could then hear like what was happening outside of the building. Whoa. And then his hearing kept getting better and better and better. So then Dee claimed to have the cure for deafness. Well, that wasn't totally true because people were starting to come to him for deafness, and their hearing wasn't being restored, but other things were getting better. So blood pressure issues were improving, allergies were improving, digestive issues were improving, sleep issues, all of these other systems, all of these other things were improving, even though their hearing wasn't restored.
Wow.
So that was how chiropractic was founded. And yeah, back in Davenport, Iowa.
And that's fascinating.
Yeah, and then Dee Dee's son BJ was he was the developer of chiropractic, so he brought chiropractic to the world. Yep.
Wow, that's so cool.
So, But then, what you were referring to earlier was the Jim McMahon 30 for 30, where a lot of these football players have these from just multiple head trauma, concussions. There's this incredible 30 for 30 on ESPN. Jim McMahon he was having to play cards every day to keep his brain sharp, and he went and finally saw an upper cervical chiropractor, and I believe it was I can't remember what technique it was. Nuka, maybe? Just an upper cervical specific technique where they only adjust the top bone in the neck, C1. And so he finally went there because that was kind of his last ditch effort, right? And they did imaging of his brain pre and post adjustment. And all they did was adjust C1, and he said that's exactly what he said. He said it was like a toilet. It felt like a toilet flushing from his head. And then they did imaging after the adjustment, and all of the fluid just came out of his skull. Because when you have upper cervical subluxation, misalignment, what that does is it traps that CSF fluid, that cerebral spinal fluid, up in the brain. So then when you have a concussion, your brain swells. Well, it's going to cause a lot of issues if there's too much fluid up there. It's going to create, intracranial pressure, and the list goes on. So it can create a lot of vision issues, a lot of cognitive declines. And then, if it stays up there too long, there's a lot of research that shows that the proteins from the fluid can leach into the brain and cause plaquing in the brain, and therefore lead to neurodegenerative issues, and the list goes on. Yeah.
There's another thing about this, and it's not just so everyone understands, this isn't just a chiropractic plug. We're not trying to sell you anything, even though I really do think that everyone should explore this, and everyone should know what they don't know. And another thing so I had my concussion issue, you had your son, and another thing that happened is my dad just went through spinal surgery, and it made him lose all of his balance, and it got to the point where they were checking for brain tumors to see if he had a brain tumor. They were checking his inner ear fluid. They were checking all of these things. They're like, we don't know what is going on. And I had the idea one day when I was driving down to help my dad in Wyoming, and I said, hey, my dad's going through this. Do you have any ideas on it? And, Mike was nice enough to talk to me for probably 40 minutes on the phone while I'm driving there. And then it sounded like, oh my gosh, I think we might have this thing figured out. And so then he did some research, found some good chiropractors where my dad lives, and my dad is getting his balance back.
Awesome. Right on.
And that's that. But the thing is, we don't know what we don't know. And I'm telling you, chiropractors are, in fact, a lot easier to get along with and a lot less expensive than brain surgeons. It turns out that that's true.
Yeah.
And it goes back to this idea where I think there needs to be an awareness raised for preventative medicine versus curative medicine. But curative is where all the money is. So everyone wants you to. So I can't remember what it's called, but Salo and I were reading some medical articles that flashed into my Google News feed, and they just cured some disease. I can't remember what it is, but less than 3,000 people in the entire world get it per year. And the treatment is a cool $571,000, and it's like 6 pills.
Yeah, that's it.
That's unbelievable. But it's just because, it's like, hey, do you want to spend $500,000 or would you like your life? And it's crazy to me what curative medicine has done to the way we think and act when there's so many things that we can do on the front end and in the preventative that solve most of the issues.
Yeah, we spend about $3.3 trillion a year on the treatment of chronic health issues. So right now it's about 54% of kids have have a chronic health disease, 60% of adults, and then about 40% of those adults have multiple chronic diseases.
Oh my gosh.
Here we are. We have the best technology. We have the best trained doctors. But what we're doing is not working.
Yeah.
Because medicine is very mechanistic. If you have a disease part, you treat the part.
Yeah.
Whereas chiropractic, a lot of Eastern medicine philosophies are very vitalistic. We believe that the body is greater than the sum of its parts.
Absolutely.
That's why when people come into the office, we challenge the way they think. That's why we always say we want to create a pivot point in how you gauge, manage, and approach your health.
That's so great.
Right? Because what we're being taught and what we're being fed in the mainstream media is not truth. Right? So if we were spending $3.3 trillion a year on prevention, we would have a different culture society.
Yes.
Right? Kids born after the year 2000, this is a quote directly from the CDC, kids born after the year 2000 are not expected to live as long as their parents. That's a big deal.
That's crazy.
It's a big deal. Yeah. Neurodevelopmental issues are on the rise. We see a lot of neurodevelopmental stuff in the practice, whether it's sensory processing disorder, ADHD, autism. The number one thing that we see in our practice is anxiety. Pain might bring people, like especially adults, in, but when it comes down to it, why people stick around, it's anxiety, it's stress-related issues.
Well, that's so. One of the things that just really struck me about you is I wouldn't say that I'm super set in my ways, but I count myself a pretty smart person.
Sure.
And I really pay attention when I run into people in my life who can, what you said, that pivot point, and start shifting the way you think about things and shift the way that you behave and do things. And you were absolutely one of those people in my life. And it really it's very refreshing. And that's why I love our conversations. They're so fascinating because I realize there's so much that I don't know, and it's because I love learning. So it's really exciting when those things happen.
I mean, me too. Yeah, I'm always a student.
Oh yeah, well I think we recognize that in each other almost immediate. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, we've got a 5-year-old business.
Yeah.
What, number one, if you had to, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago to make yourself today better? I mean, besides what are the winning numbers of the $1 billion Powerball?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So what would I tell myself 5 years
as
ago
an entrepreneur
to make myself better?
That you've learned in 5 years? What could you go back and tell yourself starting this business that you're like, man, if I could go back and tell myself this?
I posted this quote the other day. Let me look it up real quick because, hustling without boundaries will burn you out before it makes you successful.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was perfect for me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because when you're building a business, and you're the sole breadwinner in the family. I mean, I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait, are kids expensive?
The kids, they cost a little bit of money.
I wish someone would tell. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe Kayla and I shouldn't try as often.
You wait.
Maybe
pal.
we do try it. Practice makes pregnant.
Yeah, I would recommend more practice. So,
hustling without boundaries.
Yeah, hustling without boundaries. What was it?
Leads
will
to
burn you out before it makes you successful.
Oh, wow.
That was a really good quote.
Hustling without boundaries will burn you out before it makes you. I think a lot of people have gone through that.
I think a lot of people. I mean, I know specifically that.
Wow.
I mean, there was times where I just felt like I was just tired, right? But also being present in the situation. Like that was my biggest struggle, was always working, right? And I asked a mentor of mine, I said, hey man, how do you unplug? And he said, really, when you're so passionate about something that you do and it's woven in your being now, you don't ever want to unplug. You just want to make yourself fully present in every situation that you're in.
I completely agree with
right?
that.
And so
Yes.
that was actually a big turning point for me when I asked him that, because just being present with the kids, like not being on the cell phone. And there was one time, and I'll never forget it. I think my son was 3 years old, Hudson. It was just a couple years ago. He picked up the phone, and it was either my phone or my wife's phone, and he goes, "Look, I'm daddy," like because I was always on my phone, and that just like.
Well, that'll put some things into perspective.
That was actually the game changer right there for me. Was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to be present with my kids.
Absolutely.
So I mean, yeah, building a successful practice, a business, making good money, making an impact, that's all good stuff. But if it's at the expense of your family,
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it one bit.
So what is your biggest, if you had to say, hey, here's this is specifically in business. So we can't use, because any dad's going to say their kids. That's just the way that works. Or the marriage, whatever. But I'm saying specifically in business, what is right now, if you had to say, hey, this is my crown jewel, this is my biggest achievement, was it when you had your first 300 patients through the door? Was it when the first time you were on a waiting list? Was it the first time that someone wanted, I don't know, what's a crown jewel look like to you, but in business specifically? It could be how many clients. It could be a single story. It could be there's so many different things that affect different people, and I always wonder when people are going through, especially in the early stages of a business like this, what are those things that pop up that keep you going?
Yeah, it's tough not to go to your kids or your wife.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
So I always remove
That's really
those.
tough. Yeah, that's really, really tough. I will tell you, though, and then I'll segue into something else, something that my wife and I, even with the kids and the busyness of practice and running multiple businesses, because she has a photography business as well, is we make a weekly date night. It's a non-negotiable. So we have a sitter every single Wednesday. I mean, this week, this week we went to the gym.
Oh, that's fun.
You know, we just went to work out, you know, or we'll go out to eat, or we'll go mastermind, or we'll just go and hang out. So I think that's super, super important, is just keeping that relationship with your spouse. But when it comes to, paying off student loans, that's a big one, man, because that's a heavy burden to be dragging behind you. And my wife just paid off another one of hers.
I saw that.
Right. And it's just every time we do that, we just say, hey, this is what success feels like.
That's awesome.
Right. This is what success feels like. I mean, we have miracles happen every single day in the office. I mean, just incredible testimony after testimony after testimony. I mean, people coming in and getting progress with things that they never even thought about. Right.
Yeah.
We just had a 17-year-old start care this week. She just moved here from Ecuador with her family, and she has been getting headaches. And she's had a headache for 2 weeks now, 2 weeks straight, almost 3 weeks now. She went to every single specialist, every single medical doctor, every single, neurologist, everything in Ecuador, zero answers. All I asked was, when she came into the office this week, did anyone ever look at your spine and nervous system? What do you think she said?
No.
That's all we did. Okay, she had a reverse curve in the neck. She had these curvatures throughout her spine, and that just created a lot of stress in her nervous system. Within the first week, she's already feeling better.
Oh my gosh.
She's already getting better, right? And so it's stuff like that always happens, and I think sometimes I get so used to these things happening because we expect them.
Yeah.
It's where I have a sign in the office that says expect miracles.
Listen to what you're saying. You just said that miracles happen every day, and you're expecting miracles. You literally have created an environment, and you work and live in an environment where miracles are the normal.
Right.
That's amazing.
Well, it's because they really shouldn't be miracles, though, because the human body is designed to function well.
Yeah.
Right. We're just so used to sickness being the norm now. Right.
Oh wow, that's true.
Right. And so it really shouldn't be a miracle, even though a lot of times it is at point. Because a lot of times, to be honest, when it comes to chiropractic, we're people's last straw. I'll try that crazy voodoo stuff. I'll try that witch doctor, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna crack my back, right?
Yeah.
Well, people just don't understand that. Yeah, we're doing that, but we're doing it in a very specific manner, and we're doing it, in the right spot with the right line of drive, and a very, there's the chiropractic is a philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot that encompasses it.
Wow, that is so fascinating. So we talked about why you started the chiropractor. That's the 5 years ago. We've talked about the last 5 years of where we've come. What's the next 5 years look like for Adio?
It's up in the air, man. More clinics, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, more clinics.
I will say, man, I love you hit the nail on the head. And it just philosophy and art, bringing that to medicine. And with me being such a creative person, that really permeates through the way you do things. And and I've been there. He's absolutely helped me out, and I can attest that really is their philosophy. That's really cool. So I think it'd be great to have more Adios around.
Yeah, your philosophy is a lens through which you see the world,
Yep.
right? And so if we can just, once again, keep just challenging people to create that pivot point in how they view, gauge, and manage their health, you're just gonna just start. Keep creating waves in different communities, right? And so, I think that's a vision of ours. But also we got. My wife and I have some other ideas of creating other businesses and making an impact through other things as well. But it's all about, hey, how do we impact more people? For her and I, it's all about people and impacting lives.
That's
you know?
true.
Yeah, making money's great. You know, you can do a lot of really, really incredible things with money, but if you're not passionate about it, that's not going to feel.
Money should always be the byproduct.
Totally, 100%.
I always tell people, look, money should just be a byproduct of you being a badass.
Totally.
And when I ask, I say, you know, what is the one phrase or word that you want people to use behind your back? And I always tell people, look, I want to be a badass.
Sure.
I want them to be like, wow, that guy's a badass businessman. He's a badass husband, a badass salesman, a badass speaker. I don't care what it is, but I want to be badass at it.
I like it.
And so that's the thing, that there's this underlying thing where we have to have money be a byproduct of us just being a badass, doing badass things. And then we have a badass amount of money. And then usually we just dump that back into becoming more so we can do more, and then we have more.
Invest, yeah.
And I love your philosophy on that. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for it. One thing that I was just thinking, because we actually shared a date night with them one time at Bar Taco, which was so good. I had way too much jalapenos in the margarita. There's probably a little bit of margarita splashed on top of a bunch of jalapenos.
I think they actually have a custom Greg drink there now.
It got a little ridiculous, but they have amazing tacos. I had a great time, but we should definitely have your wife on the podcast as well, because she is an incredible person herself. The way she views the world, very artistic. So I think that'd be, definitely talk to her about that for me. See if she'd be down.
She'd be in for sure,
because
she'd love that.
They're a special couple. So how do we get in touch with you on social media?
So social media, Instagram is Mike Lynch DC. So Mike Lynch DC. So Delta Charlie.
Cool.
And then
he's from the military,
yeah,
so he is
right,
Delta Charlie.
Delta Charlie, or Doctor of Chiropractic. You know, our clinic name is Adio Health Chiropractic. So it's Adio Health Chiropractic, and on Facebook it's Adio Health Chiropractic Boulder, Colorado.
Awesome. And what's your website?
AdioHealthChiropractic.com.
And then where are you located in Boulder?
So we're on 2714 28th Street between Mapleton and Valmont.
Okay, and then I know that you guys have if you've never been to the clinic before, you have some sort of a discounted consultation. What does that look like?
We do. It's our VIP pass.
Okay.
So essentially it includes your complete consultation. So it's your health history and all of that. And then we do a neurological and postural assessment, and then we'll take a full set of digital x-rays of your spine for $49.
$49.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
A no-brainer.
The other thing, and I'm not going to name any names and put anybody on blast, but I went to the Joint for a long time. Oh, wait, no, I just said it. Whatever. And
I refer to the Joint.
Here's what I didn't like about it, because I would go in there and they would just kind of crack me, and I would always be like, yeah, but you don't know what it looks like. And I found it so fascinating that you wouldn't even adjust someone until you knew what to adjust. Can you imagine pulling your car into the garage and the guy says, okay, we want to put in a new engine, and he just tries to shove it through your hood? That doesn't sound good. Maybe we should open your hood and take the engine out. Maybe we should look at a couple things. And I thought it was amazing, because you were just like, because I went in there, I was in a lot of pain, and I was like, let's figure this out. And I was like, you're not going to crack me? Well, no, I have to look at your x-rays. I've got to make sure that what I'm cracking needs to be cracked. I was like, that is an unbelievable philosophy.
Yeah. To see is to know, and not to see is to guess, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we always, we adjust the spine in a specific manner, or in Greg's terms, we crack the spine, right?
There we go. Well, and that's what happened with me, just because, and I'm not going to lie, and I respect the fact that you referred to the Joint, but for me, when I went to the Joint, it actually made a lot of everything that I was going through worse.
Yep.
Because I went to first, because one of my friends was going to the Joint, and he said, oh, you should really do this, because my lower back was just so bad, and it really hurt. And so I went and got adjusted by them, and it made it impossible to swing a golf club. And since I had started going to him, I still don't have back pain. Realistically, I should probably get in there more often, because I've kind of fallen off, and I don't want it to come back. So, but it's crazy. Going for a full year without that pain is a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the joint is good because it makes it accessible for a lot of people because it's just cheaper, right? But there's, I mean, it's two totally different models. I mean, we focus on long-term prevention, right? Long-term care. I mean, we focus on structural correction as far as, you know, putting curves back in the spine, and that takes time. Healing takes time, repetition. And there's just some people that don't want that, and that's totally okay, right? So then that's when I refer them. But they also refer to us when they understand that people need more care outside of just what they're doing.
That was the first thing, because when I went and canceled my subscription, it was the one over by like that like the Verizon store and the Chase Bank and that joint.
Okay.
Down in a little South Boulder.
Yep.
And it was funny when I said, "Oh, where are you going?" I said, "Well, I made really good friends with Adio." And oh no, that guy's great. You're in awesome hands. That was their response. Cool. That's when you know you really are like, this is so much better than an Allstate commercial, because you really are in good hands. And it was great to hear another chiropractor. Oh, I'm canceling you to go here. Oh no, yeah, that's a good idea. And we have another person who's in our Final Percent group, Eileen Gallagher. She's a medical doctor. She had known of you for a while, and she was saying that he has one of the best reputations. So, I mean, your reputation really does precede itself. And since I've gotten to know you as a human being and experience your work firsthand, it really is warranted. So I want everyone to at least that $49 so you can see what your spine's doing. You can get assessed. You can maybe catch things that you don't realize is happening. It makes sense. And again, you don't know what you don't know. And I really invite and encourage everyone to at least try out very specifically his philosophy and his take on adjusting the back.
There you go. There you go. Finally.
He is also announcing that he is going to be launching the Well-Adjusted Family podcast here soon. And
I guess it's official.
Yeah, I'm just going to I'm putting you on
now
blast.
We have to.
He has just one of the coolest dynamics between he and his wife, and it's really fun to watch. And I think their podcast is going to be a joy. It's going to be very much the epitome of edutainment. And I think that's how everybody should learn and get into learning, because you have to be entertained along the way, and there should be value, and they're going to bring it like there's no tomorrow. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And guys, go visit this guy. It's only $49. For anyone who doesn't have $49, the first 3 people to DM me that you want me to pay your $49, I will front you the $49, and I'll send him the name, and then he can charge my card, because I want you guys to experience what he has to offer. But anyway, let's go the final percent in your life, your business, your health, maybe even your spine. Let's go the final percent and correct some things. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. See you next time.
Right on.
It's the final percent. The final percent.